Hello, everyone. Me and Ian recently got to check out some games published by Annapurna. Who I feel like they're just kind of like snatching up little cool things right now.
Yeah, their games division is very cool.
Yeah, like when we first arrived, they're like, before Ian gets here, to sit down and play the PC version of Journey, and like, okay, you guys are doing that too. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, great, cool. They did Donut County. They put out all kinds of stuff.
They had 3 games recently to check out. One of them was pretty much brand new, and then 2 of them we've seen in the past. Although I'd never played Wattam before, so it's like, oh yeah, I want to check that out. So we saw Wattam, Outer Wilds, and Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
Which Sayonara Wild Hearts I think is the one we played first.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. It's like this crazy mix, like very stylistic for sure.
Yeah,
it's like black and like neon pink. Mm-hmm. But it's like this mix between like 3D Sonic and like a rhythm game.
Yeah, it's like Amplitude or whatever the one where you're going forward down or Thumper or something. Just like synthwave style. It's very cool. I think one of the trailers maybe calls it like a playable album too.
Sure.
Which is really cool. The music was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I remember like you had like skateboard at one point. I really liked when you hopped on the motorcycle.
Yeah,
and
you
you're
have
going through
different
the
vehicles
city and like dodging other motorcycles and
and then you like hit a wall and then jump off the motorcycle and then you're just flying.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Everything's contextualized really well.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't feel like you're just doing the same thing in every level.
Yeah.
So I think that works out really
and you're
well.
you're like this person going up against.
Well, it's like all like Arcana based, like tarot card type stuff.
You're
like
right.
you're
the fool. I think.
Fool sent to rescue the world from ruin of evil Arcana. That's what I wrote down at least.
Well, yeah, like all the other the I don't know if they're enemies or what, like rival gangs are like these like girl gangs on motorcycles and they're neon and everything looks really cool, like an album cover. It's a cool game.
And then there's like dance battles.
Yeah.
Fighting people with dance. Dodging fireballs.
All to a rhythm with good music.
Yeah, good music. Devs are in Sweden.
Okay.
They had an opportunity to speak with the devs, but it didn't feel the need to do that. They had like Skype call.
The game speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think it's just a really cool game.
Oh yeah, and we should have some footage so we can throw some of that up there.
Yeah, good.
Make sure you get that.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, something else about Sayonara Wild Hearts?
Yeah, it felt the pacing was really cool. The levels were interesting. It was one thing that was interesting about it is some levels were really short and others were really long.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of kept you guessing. Like sometimes I beat levels and I was like, oh okay, and then the next one had like 8 parts or 5 parts to it, which was cool. And I guess it is sort of like an album. Like this one's got lyrics and verses, and you return to this kind of mechanic when it's this chorus and stuff. And the other one was just kind of little like instrumental bridge track. It's cool. It was cool.
Yeah. Outer Wilds, I played last E3.
Yeah.
And we kind of took turns on this one, so like I don't think you probably saw a little bit of what I did. I didn't see what you did at all.
I saw the end of yours. Yeah, the end of your run.
There was. It's one of those demos that was like slightly intimidating for me just because like there were like 4 developers just like all like watching what I was doing, taking notes and stuff.
Yeah, learning as you're playing. It was definitely a play test, I think, too. For them.
The other funny thing for me was because I'd played at E3, they just gave me the option to like skip the tutorial. But like that was months and months ago. So like I get out there and like, oh crap, what am I doing now?
Well, funny thing is I had played this game when it was a student game at Indiecade. I want to say 2015, 2014, like a long time ago. And yeah, like a lot of things are similar, but much has changed. A lot has changed. And it was very cool to see the evolution of this game.
So one of the things to kind of get people up to speed, it's kind of like an open solar system. Mm-hmm. So you start off just doing some kind of like what feels like a typical like first-person adventure game type of things. You wander around this kind of rustic village, and you solve some puzzles, and you get a little bit of story, and some tutorials on the mechanics. And they're like space explorers, but like exploring in like this rickety like what they call it, woodpunk or something like that.
Oh, they didn't say that to me.
I don't think that they've called it, but I mean, like I've heard people refer to that kind of thing. And so you get into this spacecraft and you fly out, and it's really cool the way it's presented, because as soon as you start lifting off, you start to see like the globe of the world that you're on before. And before it just felt like a normal adventure game, and now it's like, oh, you kind of see the scale of things. And then you're just sort of left to go out and explore the rest of the solar system.
Yeah.
The first time when I played at E3, I went way far off to this crazy planet. It had a whole bunch of tornadoes. This time I stuck kind of closer, and I landed on this one where there was another wrecked spaceship. And started getting this backstory of these people who had crash landed here, who were trying to find a way off, and in the midst of that had kind of started, creating settlements. And so like you kind of go around to like these kind of like cave houses with little notes and stuff from the people that were there.
Yeah, you find like notes kind of written in their cool kind of curly Q language.
Yeah, there's a lot
on
of
the
little
wall.
like translating inscriptions. And
it
things.
felt sort of like Talos Principle, where you see people's notes to each other, and then people respond to those notes, and then people respond to that, and like you learn story through people interacting with each other in that way. It was very neat.
The other thing that was is that?
Well, I just said to the devs, I was like, it was sort of like it's Elite Dangerous meets Myst, or maybe like Kerbal Space Program or Astroneer like meets Myst. It's not like that deep as far as like spaceship simulation goes as like Elite or something like that, but the simulation of the galaxy or the solar system is very cool and very tech heavy. They said that they had to kind of like invent new stuff for Unity because it's not supposed to do that.
Right.
And like it simulates this, like everything is happening the whole time. The planet I landed on, might have been the same planet you landed on, but the planet I landed on was constantly being bombarded by meteors from like volcanoes on its own moon.
Yeah.
And so like, and the planet actually like breaks and falls apart during the playthrough. And the kind of conceit is that the game is a time loop.
Yeah. So when you
22 minutes, I think actual minutes.
Okay.
Some 20-something minutes. I made it to the end and got reversed. And it was pretty cool. So yeah, and when you die,
I got sucked into a black hole, which then shoots you out to a white hole on the far edge of the galaxy, and then I ran out of fuel, and then I was using my oxygen as fuel, and then I ran out of oxygen, and then I died in time loop.
I went through the white hole too, and then the black hole came out the other side and like landed. I landed luckily, and I was on a planet, and I was like, whoa. And I had found some device that could teleport me back, and then the time loop happened, and I was like, okay. But it's cool because the things that you change and find and stuff revert, but of course your knowledge doesn't. Mm-hmm. So it's about kind of like finding the answers to this story and figuring out this puzzle of like reality is very cool. And I'm really excited for it. Not to be confused with the Outer Worlds.
Right. The Obsidian's
The Obsidian one. Yeah. Very different. I asked the devs, I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, so how do you feel about the Outer Worlds? And they actually laughed and said, yeah, we were a little taken aback, but honestly, it's turned out to be a good thing because people Google it wrong and stumble upon the Outer Wilds. So it's pretty cool, or Outer Wilds. Yeah, very cool.
That's funny. Yeah, it is interesting because in a way, I think I said this somewhere else, but I feel like Outer Worlds might be a better description of their game.
Right, yeah.
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds might fit the other one better, yeah.
Yeah. And then Wattam, which you didn't get to play, but
I watched most of your
playthrough,
and I feel like I got the idea more or less.
Yeah, and I was playing that with Keita Takahashi, who originally created Katamari Damacy.
Very cool.
And a lot of that same kind of playful. It's weird because there's like this playful side yet tragic side, like like with Katamari there's this like weird thing of like, oh yeah, you're just like rolling up all this stuff, but then if you think about it, I'm rolling up like living cats and cows and people and shooting them off into space, right? and Wattam kind of has sort of this similar thing where like some cataclysm has just caused the world to end.
Oh.
And you're like the only thing left, the mayor that you play as you start as.
Yeah.
But then there's this weird like you wander around and you find a stone and it's like stone has returned.
Right.
And it's just like the stone with a smiley face, and then you like start holding hands with the stone and you're wandering around with the stone and like there's like kind of playing with physics.
And everything is anthropomorphized. So it has,
yeah,
like,
everything is very anthropomorphized. And it's this kind of like it's almost like you're through joy and sadness and emotion, you're like bringing things like the world back to life, but it's all like very random and haphazard.
Yeah.
There is sort of a story-ish to it. There's a sequence of events of how things appear, but not in the ways that you would expect. And I think that's where this game gets to be so delightful, because it just gets to be like super weird so much of the time. It's like they start crying and then their tears start to sprout grass, and then there's a seed and the seed creates a tree, and then and any of these things, when they come back, you can switch control of it.
Right.
And I think it's probably best played with another person, because then you both are kind of doing things and discovering things and like fumbling around with each other and goofing around. And so then if you have the tree and then you eat one of the other characters, then the tree turns them into fruit.
Yeah.
And then eventually a mouth appears, and then if the mouth eats the fruit, then it turns it into poop, and then you put the poop in a toilet, and then a bowling alley appears, and it's just like, oh gosh.
I saw all this happen. That's a true story. That's how this game goes. Do you think, the one question I had about this game from not playing it is, it seemed like it was all like super cool and awesome. It seemed like the progression was kind of pre-planned, or was it sort of like... I
think there is a pre-plan and like a matter of like figuring out, okay, what's the next thing to
So you're kind of going along a pseudo weird story.
There's also this thing, you know, one of the elements is there's this thing with the magic hat the mayor wears. And so when he lifts up his hat, there's a bomb underneath of it. And when the mayor uses that bomb, then it causes these sort of magical reactions with the other. And
everyone seemed to like it.
Yeah, everyone.
Whenever they got blown up, they were like, "Yay!"
Yeah, so when somebody else uses it, then they just kind of scatter. But when the mayor uses it, then things can happen. It can have like these, you know, sort of magical reactions that sort of progress things forward. But yeah, you've got a. Like the bowling alley, and then like you're on this big floating square, and then it's like the bowling alley or whatever is another big floating square with arms.
Grabs onto your square.
And so you can take like the little characters, and I think one of the things that I think like summer arrives or something like that, like another. And so you get characters onto the bowling alley and then move the bowling alley and transport them to summer. It's really trippy to try to explain it. But it's really, it gives you that sense of wonder, and it's just like, this is just fun to just keep going and to see what's going to happen next. And
I wonder
particularly
how long,
there's somebody else.
I wonder how long the game is.
Right. Because...
or if it like opens up in a Katamari kind of way where you like do different stuff.
You know, and I was trying to, you know, because he was sitting right there, and I was like, there's this kind of opportunity to like ask him questions. But like, I don't know. It's like, well, it's like, it's not a game where like you would expect other modes. You can goof around and free play whenever you want anyway. So it's not like you have to move forward.
Yeah. Wattam, dude.
Yeah.
What a game.
So I think it's gonna make for like a fun stream for sure.
Oh yeah.
Pass the controller around and see what people discover. Because I bet too is that like there's probably all these other optional interactions.
I bet there are so many. Like I bet for the demo you just did like beeline through the straight path or whatever, the Dream Logic little path. But like there's got to be so much crazy other stuff that if you just try things, like fall off the side of the world, like what happens, or like eat a thing with this thing, or get on top of this guy with that other guy. Yeah, like all kinds of stuff.
Right, because that was another thing that like I could like climb on top of the tree and yeah.
It is a funny little game. It looks cool.
Yeah. So that was pretty much it. I mean, but just those 3 games. It was fun little time. I think we spent like an hour there. So not a lot of time, but just good to get a little check-in.
We completed the demo for all 3.
Yeah.
I did the full demo of Sayonara Wild Hearts of the Outer Wilds, and you did the full demo of Wattam. So we played their full demo on offer. And so it was really cool slices of all 3.
I don't know. I didn't write down any dates, so I don't know any dates off the top of my head.
Yeah, I asked the Outer Wild devs were there, and they didn't have one yet, I don't think so.
I think they may all be kind of still in vague release territory.
I mean, I hope soon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been working on the Outer Wilds for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I really want that game to come out and be successful. And all of these, they're so cool.
Fun times.
Yeah.